All right, so have you heard about this drink? It's supposed to be amazing for blood sugar control for people with diabetes.
Yeah, I've seen that recipe going around.
It's got all these kind of crazy ingredients, too. Stuff you wouldn't think would go together, like cinnamon, turmeric, apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yeah, and lemon juice and even black pepper.
Seriously, black pepper. But the recipe says to mix it all up in warm water and then drink it on an empty stomach.
Sounds, interesting.
Well, we're going to deep dive into it today, but before we get started, gotta say, we're not doctors or anything.
This isn't medical advice.
Exactly. We're just exploring the science, seeing what's what.
Yeah, trying to figure out if there's anything to these claims. I mean, it is fascinating to see how sometimes these old-time remedies actually have some real science behind them.
That's exactly what we're going to get into. Okay, so let's start with one thing a lot of people with diabetes struggle with, those blood sugar spikes after meals. This recipe claims cinnamon is the big hero here. Does it actually live up to all the hype?
Cinnamon can definitely play a role. It's kind of cool how it works, too.
Yeah.
It almost acts like backup for your own insulin.
Backup insulin.
Yeah, like it makes it easier for your cells to absorb glucose, which helps regulate your blood sugar.
So it's not replacing insulin, but it's sort of lending a hand.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Plus, cinnamon slows down how your body breaks down carbs in the first place. So that helps prevent those super fast spikes in blood sugar after you eat.
So less of a sugar roller coaster, more of a gentle slope. I like that. Okay, what about turmeric? It seems like it's everywhere these days. What's the big deal with it in this drink?
Well, turmeric is all about fighting inflammation. And this is something people might not realize, but chronic inflammation can actually make it harder for your body to use insulin properly.
Wait, so inflammation messes with how insulin works?
Unfortunately, yeah, it can, but that's where turmeric comes in.
Right, so how does it work?
So the active compound in turmeric is called curcumin. And curcumin is like a little warrior that goes around and combats that inflammation. And that can help improve your body's sensitivity to insulin.
So it's attacking the root of the problem, not just covering things up.
Exactly. And there's even some research out there suggesting that curcumin might protect the actual cells in your pancreas that produce insulin. So it's doing a lot.
It sounds like it. Okay, this recipe also calls for a pinch of black pepper. And I'm usually adding black pepper to my food to make it taste good, not to manage my blood sugar. What's it doing in here?
Well, that little pinch of black pepper is actually pretty important. It has this compound called piperine in it.
Okay.
And piperine helps your body absorb curcumin way more effectively.
Ah, so it's like a little helper, making sure the turmeric can do its thing.
Yeah, think of them as a team.
A dynamic duo. Okay, so we've got cinnamon and turmeric. Now let's move on to apple cider vinegar. It seems like everyone is talking about apple cider vinegar for all sorts of health stuff. What's so special about it when it comes to blood sugar?
Apple cider vinegar has definitely earned all the attention it's getting. The acetic acid in it can slow down how quickly your body digests carbs.
Kind of like cinnamon does.
Yeah, similar idea.
Yeah.
It's like a double team effort to keep those blood sugar levels from spiking too fast after you eat.
Like another layer of defense against the sugar spikes?
Right. Plus, there's some research suggesting that apple cider vinegar can help improve how your body responds to insulin in the first place, making it more efficient.
Okay, this is starting to make sense now. It seems like each of these ingredients has a specific job to do when it comes to healthy blood sugar.
Exactly. It's not just a random mix of stuff thrown together, you know.
Okay, let's keep going. Lemon juice. I always think of vitamin C and fighting colds, not really blood sugar. How does it fit into all of this?
Well, yeah, lemon juice is packed with vitamin C, but it's also got a ton of antioxidants.
Oh.
And those antioxidants can help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in your body. And both of those things, oxidative stress and inflammation, tend to be higher in people with diabetes.
Yeah.
So think of the lemon juice as a little support system, helping to minimize some of the negative stuff diabetes can do to your body.
So it's like it's working in the background, making things better for you overall.
Exactly.
And last but not least, ginger. I usually think of ginger for an upset stomach. Does it really do anything for blood sugar?
It does. Ginger is kind of like a secret weapon for blood sugar. Some research suggests that it can help improve your insulin sensitivity.
Oh, so kind of like turmeric.
Yeah, similar to turmeric in that way. But it might also help your muscle cells absorb glucose better, which means they can use that sugar more efficiently.
Wow, so ginger's got some skills I didn't know about. Okay, so to recap, we've got cinnamon for those immediate blood sugar spikes after meals, turmeric fighting inflammation, Apple cider vinegar working on digestion and insulin response, lemon juice giving us that antioxidant support, and ginger tackling both insulin sensitivity and how our muscles use glucose.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how each one brings something different to the table.
It is, but I'm curious, is it just a matter of adding up all their individual benefits, or is there something more going on here? Like, do they actually work better together?
That's where things get really interesting. They each have their own way of working, but they actually seem to enhance each other's actions.
Tell me more about that. How do they work together?
Okay, so think about cinnamon and apple cider vinegar. Both of those ingredients can help slow down how fast your body digests carbohydrates, but they do it in slightly different ways. Cinnamon mostly focuses on the enzymes that break down carbs, while apple cider vinegar delays how fast food leaves your stomach, so you end up digesting those carbs more gradually.
Like a 1-2 punch against those blood sugar spikes?
Exactly. And then you've got turmeric and ginger, both working on improving your insulin sensitivity, but again, in different ways. Turmeric targets the inflammation that can mess with insulin signaling, while ginger seems to directly boost how much glucose your muscle cells can absorb.
So they're each tackling a different piece of the blood sugar puzzle.
That's a great way to put it. It's like an orchestra, you know? Every instrument has its own part to play, and when they all work together, you get this beautiful symphony.
That's a great analogy. And we can't forget about the black pepper, making sure that curcumin from the turmeric is ready to go and do its job.
Right. Every instrument is important in the orchestra.
Okay, so this drink potentially targets blood sugar from a bunch of different angles, from slowing down digestion to helping with insulin sensitivity and maybe even protecting those insulin-producing cells. It's pretty impressive. But before we get too excited about all this, I think we should address the elephant in the room. Are there any downsides? Any risks to drinking this? Even natural things can have side effects sometimes.
You're absolutely right, and that's why it's super important to be cautious and always talk to your doctor before you try something new, especially if you're already managing diabetes.
Yeah.
These ingredients are generally pretty safe when you use them in reasonable amounts, but there are a few things to be aware of.
So what kind of downsides are we talking about here? What should people look out for?
Well, for some people, they might get a little bit of an upset stomach.
Oh, like what?
Some bloating or gas, especially if they aren't used to drinking apple cider vinegar.
Makes sense. So start slow and see how you feel.
Exactly. Oh, and this is really important. If you're on any medications, definitely check with your doctor first before adding this drink to your routine.
Like what kinds of medications?
Especially blood thinners. Some of these ingredients, like cinnamon and turmeric, they can interact with certain medications.
So it's always better to be safe than sorry, right?
Exactly. Always better to talk to your doctor and get their okay first. And of course, we can't forget about allergies. Some people might be allergic to one or more of these ingredients, like ginger, for example. It can sometimes cause heartburn for some people.
Okay, noted. Pay attention to how your body reacts. If something feels off, stop and talk to your doctor. Now, earlier we talked about making this drink your own, like tweaking it to fit your needs. Is that really something you can do?
It's definitely something to talk to your doctor about, for sure. But yeah, diabetes affects everyone differently, so why should your approach be the same as everyone else's now?
So let's say someone's really struggling with those blood sugar spikes after meals. How could they change the drink to help with that?
Well, in that case, they might want to bump up the cinnamon and the apple cider vinegar just a little bit, since those are the ingredients that are really good at slowing down how fast your body absorbs carbs.
So more of the things that target that specific issue. Yeah. What about someone who has a lot of inflammation, maybe even besides just the diabetes?
If inflammation is a big problem for someone, they might want to think about increasing the turmeric and black pepper to get more of those anti-inflammatory benefits.
So you can kind of tailor it to what you need, but is there a limit? Like, could you have too much of a good thing and actually make things worse?
That's a great question. Moderation is definitely key here. Even though these ingredients are generally safe, you don't want to go overboard. More isn't always better. In fact, if you have too much of some of these, like cinnamon, it can actually have the opposite effect.
So stick with reasonable amounts. Don't go crazy. Got it. Now, what about adding stuff? Could you add other things to this drink?
Ooh, now that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, this recipe is a good starting point, but there's no reason you couldn't experiment a little as long as your doctor's on board.
What kind of stuff are we talking about here?
Well, it depends what you're going for, right? Like cayenne pepper is known to boost your metabolism, and it might even help with blood sugar. Adding a pinch of that could give the drink a little kick.
A little spice for better blood sugar. I like it. What else?
Well, there's some research out there suggesting that cinnamon bark oil could be even stronger than regular ground cinnamon when it comes to blood sugar. So adding a drop or two of that could potentially make the drink work even better.
Okay, what about herbs? I know there are certain herbs that are supposed to be good for blood sugar.
Right, like fenugreek and bitter melon. They've been used in traditional medicine for a long time to help with blood sugar control, and now we're starting to see some scientific evidence backing that up.
So it's like taking ancient wisdom and combining it with modern science to create your own personalized blood sugar drink.
Exactly. But of course, anytime you're thinking about adding stuff or changing the recipe, you got to talk to your doctor first. They can make sure it's safe for you and that it won't interact with anything else you're taking.
Safety first.
Always.
Okay, so we've covered the potential benefits, the possible risks, and how you might be able to personalize this drink. Is there anything else we should talk about before we wrap up this deep dive?
You know, there's one more thing we haven't really touched on, the gut microbiome.
Oh yeah, the gut microbiome. It seems like that's all anyone's talking about these days. What does it have to do with blood sugar?
Well, it turns out those trillions of little bacteria that live in our gut, they can actually influence how our body handles sugar.
Really? How does that work?
Well, certain types of bacteria, the good kind, they help create a healthier environment in your gut. And that can actually lead to better insulin sensitivity and better blood sugar control overall.
So happy gut, happy blood sugar.
That's a good way to put it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Some of these ingredients in this drink, especially ginger and turmeric, they have prebiotic effects.
Prebiotics, those are the things that feed the good bacteria, right?
You got it. Prebiotics are basically food for probiotics. They help those good bacteria thrive and grow.
So is it possible that this drink, on top of everything else it's doing, is also helping to create a healthier gut microbiome, which could then help with blood sugar in a more indirect way?
That's a really good question, and it's something scientists are looking into right now. There's a lot of research going on about the gut microbiome and how it affects our metabolism and our overall health.
So there's a whole other layer to this drink that we might not even fully understand yet.
Exactly. It shows you how much we still have to learn about the human body and how everything's connected.
So just to recap, we've got this drink that potentially helps with blood sugar on multiple levels, from slowing down digestion to improving insulin sensitivity and maybe even helping to create a healthier gut microbiome. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. It's a great example of how powerful nature can be.
But again, it's super important to remember that this drink is not some magic cure. It's meant to be used alongside other things, like medication, checking your blood sugar regularly, and just living a healthy lifestyle. And always, always talk to your doctor before making any changes.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about working with your doctor to figure out the best plan for you and your individual needs.
It really is amazing to think about how something like a simple drink could have such a big impact on our health.
Right. It just shows you how powerful nature is and how much we can learn from those traditional remedies, the stuff people have been using for centuries.
Totally. And as we've been talking about this drink and everything it could potentially do, I keep thinking about the bigger picture here. It seems like more and more people are starting to take their health into their own hands, looking for natural ways to feel better.
Yeah, definitely. It's like people are realizing they have more control than they thought they did.
And this drink, it's like a perfect example of that, combining that ancient wisdom with what we're learning from science today.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not about ditching conventional medicine or anything. It's about exploring everything that's out there and finding what works for you.
Right, having an open mind and experimenting a little, but of course, always talking to your doctor first.
Always, always. It's all about working together with your doctor to make the best choices for you.
And this whole idea, it's not just about diabetes. It's about how we think about health in general. From what we eat to how we deal with stress, it's about taking a more active role in our own well-being.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about health. It's not just about not being sick. It's about feeling your best in every way.
And that's pretty empowering. So as we finish up our deep dive into this blood sugar drink, I just want to leave everyone with a sense of possibility. There's so much we can do to take control of our health. And sometimes the answers are simpler than we think. Like, they might even be hiding in our kitchens.
That's a great point. And I encourage everyone to explore those possibilities, to be curious, and to always keep learning. And of course, always talk to your doctor before making any big changes. And most importantly, listen to your body. It knows what it needs.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right.
Well, that's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us. We hope you learned some cool stuff and feel inspired to take charge of your own health journey.
It's been a pleasure being here.